All right, we are back. Boone, if you remember a few months ago, we did a contrarian corner episode saying like, what if this rookie running back class, doesn't really hit their ceiling? I gotta say, I feel like a lot of that did not age well here in week 2 of the preseason when these guys, starting right at the top with Ashton Genty, really put it on the field here this weekend.
Well, I think some people got a little bit concerned because there was like a tweet that went out that he was in the medical tent early and people
Yes.
started panicking. And then guess what? He ends up out on the field and he's just crushing it. He was fine. He was slicing through the defense. He was getting to the second level. He was absolutely just trucking guys too. Like he looked like the player that everybody thought that he could be, that it seems like he is going to be here. And you have that Chip Kelly offense. You have the fast pace that we expect. This is looking pretty good. I think this is an exciting scenario for a rookie running back of this talent level. I think he's going to be great for fantasy. I also want to say, too, there's a lot of people out there that I think not just overreacting to the Genty medical tent stuff, but overreacting to Brock Bowers' usage this weekend. Like, it's the second week of the preseason. Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of crazy, right? People are going, oh, my God, Michael Mayer's playing more than him. This is a huge concern. I don't think this is a huge concern at all. Why on earth would they play the tight end who was third in the league amongst all players in catches last year? Why would they play him any less? Why would they limit his usage other than the fact that this is the second preseason game, right? So maybe they're protecting him a little bit. Maybe they're showcasing, because Mayer was a guy that was talked about in trade rumors and stuff in the offseason. Maybe they're showcasing him. Who knows? But regardless, I'm not walking away from this week thinking that Brock Bowers needs to be moved in any way. This guy's going to be a fantastic fantasy asset this season. And if you're overreacting to his usage in the second preseason game, I think you're getting probably a little bit too cute with this.
No, I think I'm really glad you brought that up because I was going to ask you about it. Like, I was kind of surprised to see, some of the reaction to it. I do understand. Obviously, you see Brock Bowers, who is a second-round pick in fantasy football right now, is a guy who had 150 targets last year. And when they go to, just to put it in concrete terms here, when they went to like 11 personnel, one tight end on the field, Michael Mayer was usually the guy on the field. Brock Bowers would come in when they do 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, stuff like that. If that happens in week 1, like Brock Bowers isn't running 80% of the routes, I mean, I'll be stunned. I don't know what to say. I will just be absolutely blown away. I think there's a near 0% chance that happens. Like we've and look, I know we're doing a preseason week 2 reaction takeaway show here, Boone, but we've kind of jumped the shark with preseason, bro. Like this stuff is not like, oh, we're really like, they're showing us exactly. And as a matter of fact, like we all used to say that about preseason. They're not showing us everything here. It's vanilla, remember like RG3's, it's vanilla. Yeah, it's vanilla schemes, this, that, and the other. Certainly you can pick up some clues about, oh, yeah, I think Liam Cohen's bringing some cool stuff to Jacksonville. This is interesting here and there. You could try to parse out some clues, but you're not getting like unfiltered. This is exactly what we're going to do in week 1. So I'm certainly not worried about Bowers at all. And just seeing Genty like have a really nice performance here. Again, I'm not probably adjusting my ranks based on that, but it's just good to see from a conceptual standpoint.
Yeah, and I will say, like, these games, they look like real NFL games, but they're essentially like, glorified scrimmages between these teams, right? And you have to remember,
right,
this is an extension of practice. They're trying to figure out, who on this team is going to be able to contribute. Who are these guys like on the team that are going to be able to step up if we need them to? They don't need to see that from Brock Bowers. They know Brock Bowers is going to be there and be able to step up and be maybe the engine of that offense, if not one of the top 2 engines of that offense. They want to see what Mayer can do, and maybe another team will like what they see and they'll be able to get something for him. Who knows? But regardless, yeah, I think that's one. When a player is of that level, I don't think you should be overreacting to any sort of usage in the preseason. He's a superstar, and we already know it.
Let's get to the next rookie running back here. Chargers, Amari Hampton. Anything to say on him from this past weekend?
Yeah, I mean, we could probably go through a couple of these guys quick here. Sure. Hampton didn't get a ton of work in this one, but he had one carry where he was like shedding tacklers. Guys were falling off him. He's getting extra yards. That's what you want to see. And I think that's what Harbaugh and Roman want to see as well, right? They want a running back that can do that. This is such an upgrade based on what they had last year with Dobbins, and like Gus Edwards was out there last year trying to get it done in this offense. Now they have a first round talent in Hampton who can do this kind of stuff. So it was just exciting to see that. Again, not a huge, yardage total or anything like that. Didn't get a ton of touches, but still, when he did get them, he was making an impact. So that's very important. The other guy, I mean, the star of the preseason, let's say, Travion Henderson. I think he's probably going to be the
Yes.
picture on this show. We had a clip that got posted last week when we talked about him, and I always find it funny when you talk about a player who's kind of on the rise like this, especially a rookie, especially in the summer, and you get people responding to it, and some people are responding to it saying like, yeah, obviously we already know that guy's great. Why are you talking about him? It's a waste of time, right? And then you get people like, mad that you're going to push his ADP up, that they don't want you talking about him because they're not going to be able to get him at the same price that they've been getting him at in their mock drafts. Like, all of that is so funny to me. I love those comments. Keep them coming. I laugh when I see them. And we're not going to stop talking about guys that are on the rise, even if they are obvious players, because we're trying to throw that blanket over all of this, right? And there's some people that know ball and are hardcore fantasy players, and there's some people like some of my friends that just show up this time of year and they're trying to play catch up on who's on what team and what's going on. And we got to do stuff for them as well. We got to make sure they know about somebody like Travion Henderson, who has just been crushing it, right? And we don't have to spend a ton of time because we've already talked about him on the show, but he continues to look great. 8 touches for 50 scrimmage yards and a touchdown through 2 preseason games. It just gives you like that glimpse of what he's capable of. And Ramondre Stevenson is still going to be involved. I said this when we did the running back show the other day. When Jahmyr Gibbs had his rookie season, David Montgomery was still involved, and Jahmyr Gibbs on a per-game basis was the RB11 in half PPR fantasy points per game. So we could see a very big season from Henderson, even if Stevenson is still getting a lot of work in that offense. I'm willing to take him in the 4th round. That's a smash pick in the 4th round, even though we were getting him in the 5th and maybe even the 6th earlier this summer. Take him in the 4th. The 3rd, I've seen him going in some leagues. That might be a little bit rich for me. He might pay that off, but I don't think you need to go that high with it. If someone wants to take him in the 3rd, I'm going to let them do it, and I'm going to find somebody else, maybe somebody else, one of these other rookie running backs that are out there. Like, RJ Harvey on the Broncos is a great example. I'm going to talk about him in the Broncos in a second because I want to say more about that whole Broncos team, which just looks incredible right now. But another rookie that we should mention before I get to Harvey is Caleb Johnson on the Steelers. And I've said my piece about the Steelers in the past. I don't necessarily want to get too involved in that offense this year. But the people that are worried about the fact that Jaylen Warren sat out this game and that makes it clear that he's the starter, and Caleb Johnson actually didn't even start this game. It was Kenneth Gainwell that started this game. And then Johnson got out there. Again, this is preseason. I think that's what this coaching staff is all about. They're going to make him earn this. They've already talked him up as a guy that could take a ton of touches, that could be that early down guy, that could be that Najee Harris replacement. I think that's eventually how this works out. So maybe first week, second week, we see Jaylen Warren get a little more work than usual. Maybe his stats are a little inflated at that point. But eventually, after a few games or, after the first month, we're going to see this balance back out and be what we've seen in years past, which is Caleb Johnson being that Najee kind of early down guy, being the touchdown scorer, and Jaylen Warren doing what he normally does in the passing game, making some explosive plays. But really, both guys getting capped by each other, unfortunately. Unless there's an injury, I don't know that either of these guys is going to have a big fantasy season. I think they're both just going to be in that low-end RB2, high-end RB3 range, which isn't that exciting. But if you need an RB2, that's fine to get where they're going in drafts.
Yeah, I do think the Kenneth Gainwell thing deserves to be talked about, right? Because Gainwell has been a guy that, man, that Eagles coaching staff and like multiple coaching staffs like loved the guy, right? They always kind of trying to talk him up, find ways to get him on the field. He was never, like a hyper productive player, but like kind of a useful snap eater type player. I could see Arthur Smith, really liking Kenneth Gainwell, like a smart player, useful guy, right? So I think if this team that we already have sort of ecosystem concerns over, how many touchdowns are they going to score? How good is this offense going to be? We're already sort of prepared to split the backfield 2 ways between Caleb Johnson and Jaylen Warren. And I think I'm kind of with your analysis there that we're splitting it in ways that make sense, where Caleb Johnson's the early down banger, but Jaylen Warren's going to mix in on some early downs, but also be like a pass catching type guy. That makes sense. I think we can still get by with those guys being decent decent picks at their current ADP. Not like guys I'm smashing or anything, but just decent picks their ADP. I do think if we get a third back mixed in here, then we're kind of talking about this is a pretty tight situation.
I don't know that it would be like a 3-man committee though. Like I could see Gainwell getting a couple touches a game, a few snaps a game. I don't think he's gonna it's more to me like a Cordell Patterson situation, and not like Cordell Patterson with the Falcons. Cordell Patterson, what he was doing with the Steelers,
that was pretty annoying.
He'd get thrown out there the odd time, but he wasn't really a factor, right? It was more just like, hey, we signed you, we want you to be involved. Here's a touch or two a game, which again, like you said, isn't great when we're trying to get as much as we can for these other two guys. But still, I can't imagine, even with Arthur Smith, a scenario where they're going to take away from those two guys and give Gainwell that much of the backfield.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely think this team is just weird. All the tight ends, the DK Metcalf, Aaron Rodgers. It's just a weird team that if there's any, and like maybe I'm a total fish and I'm overreacting to the Gainwell stuff, but it just gives me like another reason to maybe shy away from the Pittsburgh Steelers, which maybe I'm looking for reasons to shy away from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just update, we don't have to go long on TreVeyon Henderson because we did talk about him, but his ADP right now is still 73.6 overall in Yahoo leagues. And I'm glad you brought that up about some people are just tuning back into football. Okay. Some people have not, been consuming football. Like I love that you highlighted the comments to, when we talked about Henderson, I made a joke post about him this weekend, where every fantasy analyst is going to be hyping him up. And somebody replied, yeah, the time to buy was 2 weeks ago. I was like, well, unfortunately, most people aren't going to even have their drafts until another 2 weeks from now. So yeah, we're still going to be talking about TreVeyon Henderson in normal redraft settings. So yeah, that's pretty spicy third round, but I still think he could definitely, there's some backs with tenuous upside floor projections ahead of him. So we continue to get good buzz on him. He will be a guy that rises, but I really want to know what you think about this Broncos offense, Boone, because RJ Harvey is certainly a guy right now, higher ADP than TreVeyon Henderson. I wonder if that flips at some point. And I've not quite been able to suss out how I feel about the skill position players in this offense, even though I like the unit overall. So let it rip here on the Denver Broncos offense.
Well, I want you to definitely chime in on the receivers, especially one rookie receiver that they have that I'm pretty high on, and I hope you like him as well. In the drafts I've done recently, I definitely think Henderson goes ahead of Harvey in every single draft in the last couple of weeks. So I think that ADP is definitely going to switch very soon. For me, Harvey is doing a little bit of what we're seeing Henderson do, but he doesn't seem to be getting as much hype for it, right? You look at this preseason, 10 carries, 43 yards and a touchdown through these 2 preseason games, has a couple of catches as well. Don't know that he has the same receiving upside that Henderson has, but I just mean as a fantasy asset, a guy that could really come on this year in a better offense, in my opinion, than what Henderson's in. And, we saw this week that Harvey can get it done between the tackles too. I think that, there's some concern that, is he ready? And do they have to kind of get him up to speed in pass pro and stuff? Is that why they brought J.K. Dobbins in? And I think there's some truth to all of that. But still, Harvey this week showed he can find that little crease, and he snuck through it, and he scored on a nice little touchdown run. Him and J.K. Dobbins are going to be a great tandem together. And I think we've seen in the last few years, especially teams going to these sort of 2-man backfields where both guys can have fantasy value if the offense is good enough. And I think this offense is going to be good enough. I mean, we look at this team as a whole, right? And I think people need to get on the Broncos as a potential Super Bowl contender if they aren't already, because the defense is strong. The offensive line, we would say, is one of the best in the league, I think. We saw Bo Nix handle his business last year, and he's got Sean Payton there calling the shots, which is definitely going to help him. Cortland Sutton, top target on the team. They love him. They reward him with that contract. Now you have the backfield of Harvey and Dobbins, where last year, nothing even close to that. They didn't get anything from the running backs. They wanted to. They were cycling through all those guys, and no one was willing to step up. Now I think you have 2 competent backs there. So if you have an injury, you're kind of insulated against that too, or one guy could hold the fort down until the other guy comes back. We got to see Evan Ingram out there this week, which I think some people were surprised by because a lot of the starters were sitting. He goes out there, 1 catch for 58 yards. And the way Sean Payton talks about him, that he's definitely a joker, when he got asked, who's the joker on the team. And when Ingram's name came up, he was like, yeah, he's the joker. When other guys' names came up, like Harvey, he was like, well, maybe he could be. Didn't seem like he was ready to give that, title to him yet. So love to see that. And then some of the younger wideouts this week, we really see them. We've heard it from the camp buzz and the practice buzz, and we saw it on the field this week. We saw Pat Bryant light it up, and that's the guy I was talking about, the rookie who I think could really factor into this offense this year. 4 catches for 70 yards this week for him. Troy Franklin, just a huge week 2 of the preseason. 4 catches, 67 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he's getting a ton of praise from Peyton. And no offense to Marvin Mims. I don't know if you're a Marvin Mims guy, but I think he's probably best used in that like smaller role that they've used him in the past. I know he came out, I think it was last week in the preseason, and got a bunch of work, and people got a little bit excited about that. I don't know that he's going to settle into like a high volume role ever. I think he's probably better used in, I don't want to say a gadget role, but like sort of more of a part-time player on the offense. They can take those shot plays with him.
You can say gadget role
for him.
You can say gadget role with Marvin Mims.
I feel like
totally
that's like
fair.
Demeaning to say gadget role to it for a guy, but like yes,
I'm gonna back you up there though. That like that is the best utilization for Marvin Mims. Like it's some guys like you think okay. You know, I always come back to Tyreek Hill's rookie year when he was kind of used in like a gadgety type way, but you actually watched him run like real routes. It's like, okay, well there's more to be asked of him. Whereas a guy with like Marvin Mims last year, 44% success rate versus man coverage and reception perception. That's a first percentile mark. Like he's still not a route runner. He's still not like a true wide receiver. And I always think we get into this sort of discussion with players. Well, I think you actually have to watch them to know, are they capable of more? Like, yeah, he's super efficient in that role, but there's just not a lot of evidence that he can do more than that. So I'm with you that like, because of that, I am interested in Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant and these guys, because I just think Mims, like he was awesome in that role. Like keep him there, because that was a big reason that the offense was so fun and efficient and getting you so excited here towards the end of last season.
Totally agree. And I also don't want to throw any shade at Devon Bailey, who had a pretty good season last year, and there was a little bit of talk of him in practices this offseason. But I just think what you could potentially get from Bryant, what you could potentially get from Franklin, I think they're just going to be better players in this offense than Bailey's good. But if Bailey's one of your starters, you're not really a contender, I don't think. You need to have better players than that out there. So I think they might have found them. I think they might have these guys that can step up. And then when you're talking about for fantasy, like the prices you can get a lot of these guys at, they're not crazy by any means, right? Like in drafts, Harvey, Nix, Dobbins, Ingram, and then of course, like Pat Bryant's basically free. I'm taking shots on all those guys. Courtland Sutton, I'm a little bit like, but it's not even a shot at Courtland Sutton. I'm a little bit lower in the ranks on him, but it's just because I think there's a lot of good receivers in that range, which you and I have talked about so much, that we're kind of just like splitting hairs, and he's a few spots lower probably in my rankings than he is in some other people's or in ADP, but it's just because I like other guys just that much, just a little bit more than him. But overall, this team is fantastic. They're going to have a ton of success, and this is an offense that I want to invest in, and I don't think is getting enough hype, but I think they're going to have some serious fantasy starters coming out of this offense, some guys that are going to have a lot of success this year.